Well, hi everyone. Welcome to ABA series. My name is Eleonora Magri, board certified behavior analyst, and today we have 15 minutes just dedicated to reinforcement. Last week we talked about the importance of breaking down the ABC of behavior, antecedent, behavior, and consequence to really get an idea of why behavior happens. Today we're going to talk about the two consequences, right? Reinforcement and punishment. Reinforcement increases behavior and punishment decreases behavior. We have two types, positive and negative. Now look at it not as good and bad, but rather as adding or subtracting. So positive reinforcement is after that behavior occurs, the individual will access what he wants to do, and it results in an increase of that behavior in the future. For example, getting an ice cream for good grades. Now, negative reinforcement is after that behavior occurs, I am taking away, I'm relieving the individual from something that he doesn't want to do or does not want. Remember, negative reinforcement, it's not the same as punishment. Reinforcement increases behavior, punishment decreases it. Let's see just for a second, what is punishment? Again, decreases behavior, and we also have positive punishment and negative punishment. Now, positive punishment, it's a little bit different. After the behavior, the individual is given something that he doesn't want to do or doesn't want. And as a result, the behavior decreases in the future. For example, getting a traffic ticket. Negative punishment is after the behavior occurs. Now we are taking away, we're removing something that the individual wants to do. And as a result, the behavior decreases in the future. For example, taking the iPad away. Back our focus to reinforcement. This is so important for us to understand. So again, positive reinforcement, I am adding, I am giving something wanted, and it can be an item, it can be an activity, it can be access to a particular person, it can be the person attention, social praise, any wanted outcome. Negative reinforcement is removing, accessing relief from something that I don't want. And it can be relief from chores, homework, any pain that I might be feeling, any sensory stimuli in the environment, maybe the light or the sound, again, any relief from the aversive stimuli. And let me touch base on something important here as well, just the difference between natural and artificial reinforcement. Natural reinforcement, it's directly related, follows spontaneously the behavior. So for example, I'm asking for the juice and I'm getting the juice. Artificial reinforcement, it's not a natural consequence of behavior, and it's used with the purpose of teaching new skills. And so, for example, getting a sticker for brushing teeth. Let's dive into some example to really ensure we're understanding reinforcement. Antecedent is the teacher says it's time to sit down, kids. The behavior is that the child sits at the desk. The consequence is the teacher says, good job, and gives a sticker. Again, we are adding, we're giving something. That is why is an example of positive reinforcement, given obviously that the behavior of the child sitting at the desk will increase in the future when the teacher says time to sit down. Second example, Johnny is hungry and he wants chips. He points to the chip screens and throws the items. The consequence is that mom gives him the chips. And so again, we're adding something wanted, positive reinforcement, because in the future, when Johnny is hungry and wants the chip, he will engage in the same behavior. Third example, the parent asks the child to take out the trash. That's our antecedent. The behavior is that the child takes out the trash. What's the consequence? The child gets to watch a favorite TV show. Again, adding, accessing something wanted, resulting in the future that behavior of the child taking out the trash increasing when parent asks him to do so. Let's look at some example of negative reinforcement now. My antecedent is the alarm clock sound. The behavior is hitting the alarm clock. What's my consequence? Is the alarm clock turns off. Again, relief from something aversive, resulting in the behavior or hitting the alarm clock in the future increasing when I hear the alarm clock. Second example, parent says, clean up the blocks. The behavior is the child screams no and refuses to clean up. The consequence is that parent cleans up the block. Again, there is a relief from something that the child does not want to do, that it's why it's negative, resulting in the increase of the behavior, child screaming and refusing to clean up blocks in the future when the parent asks him to do so. Third example, there is a loud vacuum cleaner sound, that's our antecedent, triggers the behavior of the child screaming and hitting mom. The consequence, what happens after the behavior, is that mom turns off the vacuum cleaner. And this is an example of negative reinforcement. Again, we have this relief from that stimuli that it's aversive and results in an increase of the child screaming again and hitting mother in the future when he hears the loud vacuum cleaner. Let's practice additional example so we can really understand the concept of reinforcement. And in this scenario, what we're going to do, we're going to break it down again into the ABCs, and then we're going to identify the type of consequence. The first scenario is that it's time for bed and mom asks Johnny to brush his teeth. She gives him the toothbrush. Johnny throws the toothbrush on the floor, runs to his room, and mom screams, "Johnny, come over here." Mom is exhausted, and after screaming for 5 minutes, she goes to Johnny's room, kisses him goodnight. Next time, when Johnny is asked to brush teeth, he refuses to brush them. What is our observable behavior? It's Johnny throwing the toothbrush and running to his room. What happens before the behavior? What's our antecedent? Is that request to brush teeth. What happens after the behavior? It's mom screaming for the 5 minutes, kissing Johnny goodnight, and Johnny doesn't brush his teeth. We know that in the future, Johnny, when he's asked to brush teeth, is going to engage in that same behavior. So because of that, we know that it's an example of reinforcement. Now, is it negative or positive? And the answer is negative, because he's getting relief from something aversive that he does not want to do. Second scenario, again, we're going to identify our ABC and identify the type of consequence. Mary's mother is on the phone call for work. Mary begins to scream louder and louder. Her mother tells her several times to be quiet, but Mary continues to scream even louder. Mom is having a difficult time attending to the phone call and politely hangs up. She looks at Mary and says, "What do you want, child?" And every time that mom is on the phone, Mary screams. Our behavior is Mary beginning to scream louder and louder. What happens before that behavior, that antecedent, is that mother is on a phone call and there is also no attention from mom. What is happening after the behavior? Our consequence is that mother tells Mary to be quiet. She hangs up the phone and asks, "What do you want, child?" And we know that this behavior of Mary of screaming louder and louder when mom is on the phone, it keeps happening. So because it increases, that's why it's considered reinforcement. And is it positive or negative? In this example, it's positive because the child is getting something wanted, which is mom's attention. And remember, even if it's a reprimand, it's still attention. Understanding reinforcement, it's so important. Why? Because it helps us identify which behaviors we might be increasing, especially those that are harmful, those that are disruptive, related maybe to tantrums and hitting and screaming. The reinforcement can also be used to increase desired behavior, teach new skills like brushing teeth, being able to sit down and complete homework. Now, I want you to make note of this. Just because Johnny likes something, let's say Skittles, does not mean that those Skittles are a reinforcer. Remember, they only become reinforcing, either an item, an activity, or a person. They only become reinforcing if that behavior in the future increases. Now, next week, we're going to be diving into a little more and talking about ways on how to make these reinforcers more effective. And to conclude our presentation, I want you to observe your child and take an inventory of some of those possible items or activities that can be reinforcing for your child. In applied behavior analysis and through ABA treatment, clinician runs all the time those preference and reinforcer assessment, and they have very systematic steps. But you at home can just take a few moments and ask some basic questions to start gathering this inventory or possible reinforcers. And so just observe your child. What does he do in his free time? Remember that because of his or her disability, his way of engaging in his free time with play might look a little bit different. Maybe he's not sitting and reading books. Maybe he's just lining up toys, right? Or spinning a pen. Just write it down, take note of it. What are some of his preferred snacks or eatables? Favorite drinks? Does he engage more with one person, one specific person? What are some of the characteristics of that person? Is she bubbly? Does he like more of a quiet person, calm person? What are some of the favorite toys or items that he likes to play and engage with? What are some of the places he likes to go? Some activities that he likes to enjoy? Well, thank you so much for watching. This ends our presentation. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed our little clip today. If you would like, please hit that like button and subscribe to ABC for IEP here on YouTube. Talk to you next week.